Hello, welcome back. It's so good to see you. So today is going to be dedicated to my grandma. It is actually her birthday today, and I thought that I would dedicate this day to her. Now, she actually died years ago, but years and years ago, she actually wrote a memoir, and she gave it to her daughters. She has 6 daughters. She gave it to her daughters for Christmas. And that was back in 2008. So it was a long time ago. And when my mom got her copy, of course, I immediately grabbed it. And I was like, I must read this book, just because I like to hear about history and people's lives and stuff like that. And I remember that it was great. But I never had a copy myself. And this summer, one of my aunts, my Aunt Wendy, she had mentioned something about it, or something that was in it, and I had mentioned that I wished that I had my own copy. Well, I got my own copy for Christmas. So I wanted to share some of the things with you. I was going to do a top-down video so that you could see it, but there were just too many names and locations and dates and stuff that I just didn't want to put out there for safety reasons. So I'm not going to be saying any last names or like city names, that kind of thing, for privacy reasons. But when there is a picture, I will show it to you. But the quality of the pictures are not that great, so I wanted to show you some of the pictures that I have of my grandma. And I don't have a lot because Hurricane Harvey, I think that's what it was called, my house flooded. We're in a non-flood zone, but Hurricane Harvey was so bad that the house flooded. So a lot of my pictures actually got ruined. But these are the pictures that I have, so I want to show you. Now, I'm very glad that this one didn't get ruined, because this one is my favorite picture of my grandma of all time. Because, first of all, she's just beautiful. But I used to watch Bewitched when I was a kid. I used to watch it like every night on Nick at Night, and I thought that she looked like Elizabeth Montgomery and just beautiful. But isn't this a super classic picture? Like, they were always taking pictures in front of their car back in the day, So anyway, and then I have this picture, which I don't know why I like it. I just feel like it's so beautiful. All she's doing is painting her nails, but I love it. I don't know if it's the coloring or her hair or what it is, but I really like that picture. And then we have this picture. This is almost all of her girls, but this is at my aunt's wedding. This is my Aunt Christy, and this is my Grandma Teddy, my Aunt Wendy, my Aunt Stacy, my mom Kathy. There's me, and then my cousin's wife Danielle. She actually died a couple years ago of cancer. Not a couple years ago, lots of years ago. But anyway, okay. And then we have this one. It's kind of, I believe it's in the same house, but I just love it. I don't know if it's like the way the picture was taken or what, but she just looks picture perfect to me. I don't know. I really like that. And then this one, this is the last picture that I have. But this is us. She actually had to move in with us. Yeah, it says Easter Sunday, 2012. Yeah, she had to move in with us because she had dementia, and it actually runs in the family because I think her mom had it as well. So, yeah, she had to live with us for a while before she went to like a dementia home. But anyway, so yeah, I have her memoir, and I'm so excited to get into it because I haven't seen it or read it in like years. But I want to show you the first page. It says, "Merry Christmas with love, Mom, December 25th, 2008. Okay, so there are a table of contents, and I'm going to read the table of contents so that you know what is coming. So we have an introduction, chronology, ancestry, birth date, our house, my dad, my mom, school years, middle child, the crazy teen years. I highly doubt my grandma was crazy. Claims to fame, recreation, picking pickles, farm animals, catechism, hole in the ground, remedies and cure-alls. I'd like to read that one. Rationing, that should be interesting. Pawnhas, I don't know what Pawnhas is, but I guess we're gonna find out. Holidays, Christmas, how I met my husband, motherhood, moving right along, homes, jobs, hobbies, anniversaries, retirement, trips, family traditions, songs and sayings, some things I didn't mention, more things I didn't mention, and ending. Okay, so we have the introduction. It says, "I dedicate this memoir to my husband, parents, and grandparents, my daughters, sisters, brother, nieces, and nephews, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren." So basically everyone. Okay, I can only put down on paper things the way that I remember them. My sisters and my brother may have an entirely different view of events, but this is the way that I remember them, and so, for me, they were real. My memory is not the best anymore, and I hope this makes interesting reading for you all. And then there is a picture, and you'll see what I mean by the quality. See, I don't know, but it says, the author, 71 years old, beginning to write her memories. Okay. Sorry, I keep pausing. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, and I don't think that you want to hear that. Okay, so this says, "Special thanks to my sister Marilyn for all the time she helped me with her fantastic memory, and my daughter Christy, who made this memoir possible with her help on the computer. Also, thanks to my sisters Rosamond, Gail, and my brother Roger. Their help was invaluable. Heaps of thanks to my husband, who helped me pin down some dates of events, and to put up with me while I was writing this memoir. He also helped with finding the appropriate pictures to print. I hope you all have as much fun reading this as I had writing it. I have tried to describe some of what life was like when I was growing up. I have attempted to be as accurate as I can be." Okay, now this is the chronology. Okay, so she was born January 14th at her parents' home in Minnesota. The president was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a Democrat. Now, I'm like, was she saying it like this was the president, he was a Democrat, or was she just like a Democrat? Because that's just all it says. It says Franklin Delano Roosevelt, comma, a Democrat. I don't know. I never knew what her political stance were and stuff. So, okay. In 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor on December 7th. 1942, we entered World War II. Minimum wage was installed. Penicillin arrived. But this is like years after she was born, so she skips a couple of years. 1943, I started first grade, and I took first and second grades in 1 year. Smarty pants. 1944, D-Day landing in Normandy. 1945, Germany surrendered. 1950, I graduated from grade school, and she was the county spelling bee winner. See? Smart. 1951, postal rates increased to 2 cents for a first class letter. Now the rates are 42 cents for a first class letter. I think it's like 56 cents now, maybe? I don't know. 1953, I started my first job at the Northwestern Bell Telephone Company when I was a senior in high school. There was a polio epidemic. In 1954, I graduated from high school. I was the salutatorian of my graduating class of 94 students. Girl, 94 students in the whole class. That's crazy. That's like so small. Okay. 1955, my husband and I got married on May 7th, and we had our first of 6 daughters, Terry, on November 28th. What? Let me read that again. 1955. My husband and I got married on May 7th. We had our first of 6 daughters, Terry, on November 26th. Grandma be getting it before she got married? What? Get it, girl? Oh my goodness, how scandalous. Okay, so we moved to Wyoming when Terry was about 1 month old. Wendell, which is her husband, had joined the Air Force along with his best friend Martin. We got our first television set in Wyoming. Can you imagine life without TV? Like what? Or a phone, because most people watch stuff on their phones, you know. In 1957, we had our second daughter, Wendy, on July 1st. She was born in Illinois. 1958, we had our third daughter, Kathy, my mom, on July 24th, and Wendell was stationed in Thule, Greenland at this time. That must have been hard for her, like having kids without your husband being there. But I think back then that was like normal, you know. Anyway, okay, 1960, I started my job as a secretary in Montana. In 1961, we had our fourth daughter, Dallas, on March 8th, and Terry started elementary school. In 1962, we had our fifth daughter, Christy, on September 7th. In 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. On November 23rd, Lyndon Johnson was the vice president then became president. Wendell was stationed in Okinawa. Wendy started elementary school. Gosh, like having to raise 3 kids basically by yourself, or 5 kids. Oh my gosh, she was raising 5 kids by herself because her husband was in Okinawa. Whew. 1965, I started my career job in the medical field by being hired as a pathology transcriptionist at a hospital. We were living in Minnesota at this time. I remember my mom told me that when my grandma got her job, and she was a pathology transcriptionist for like basically her whole life. Her whole life. But she lied to get that job. She had never had any experience in the medical field or, records, none of that stuff. And she lied. She lied on the interview and said that she had done things like that before, and she got hired. And then, she had to learn on the job because she lied to get it. But I mean, she was obviously good at it because it was her job her whole life. Anyway, okay, Wendell was discharged from the Air Force. Wait, so he was only in Okinawa for a year, because in 1963 he was stationed in Okinawa. In 1964 he was discharged from the Air Force. I wonder if he got, injured or something. Interesting. Anyway, 1964, Kathy started elementary school. 1966, we had our 6th and last daughter, Stacy, on June 4th. 6 kids. And all girls? No. No. In 1967, Dallas started grade school. 1968, Christy started grade school. 1969, Wendell started his job as a security guard at this specific company around this time. Before this, he had worked at the state bank, and he eventually took over the security guard night patrol thing with all of their customers when his boss retired. So he basically had the company. That's pretty cool. I had no idea. In 1970, my father died of a heart attack on September 11th. In 1972, Stacy started grade school. We were living in Spring Branch at the time. I'm assuming that's in Texas. I don't know. Interesting. 1974, on August 9th, President Richard Nixon resigned because of the Watergate scandal. The Vice President Gerald Ford was then sworn in. 1980 was our 25th wedding anniversary. 1981, I had carpal tunnel surgery on both wrists at the same time. Yikes. 1987, I went to Weight Watchers and got down to 131 pounds. I got my first sports car, a Pontiac Grand Prix. I finally got my ears pierced, and I learned to swim. I was 50 years old. Can we say midlife crisis? She turns 50 and she's like, I am getting skinny. I'm getting a sports car. I'm gonna get my ears pierced, learn to swim. I am not getting old. That's what I'm reading right there. Okay, in 1992, my mother died in December. She lived to be 89 years old. She was in a nursing home at that time. She had had several strokes in the past. I didn't know that. 1994, I had both feet operated on twice for bunionectomies and osteotomies. I don't know what that is. 1995, we took a trip to London, England. 1996, Wendell's father died on May 5th. I remember that. He was my grandpa. Wendell, technically he's my grandpa, but I didn't like him. He wasn't a good man. But Wendell's dad, Grandpa Charlie, was the greatest. I loved him so much. He was born on September 13th, 1915. And he had quite a few heart problems. I miss him. He was the best. 1997, Wendell's mother died. I did not like her. On November 13th, she was born on June 24th, 1917. She was in a nursing home at this time. She had COPD and emphysema. Wendell resigned from his position at the state bank. Let's see. I think she got something mixed up with his jobs. Anyway, so he retires, and let's see. 2004, I had cataract surgery on my right eye. I had a cardiac catheterization. I don't know what that is either. 2005 was our 50th wedding anniversary. That's a long time. I also began volunteering at this time. 2006, I quit my job to retire. Congratulations. 2007, I fractured my pelvis, and we went home to Minnesota for a visit. Okay, and that was just the chronology, just, dates, important stuff in our life. Now we're going to get into some ancestry. I don't know how long this video is. Okay, we're going to get into some ancestry, and like I said, I'm not going to read last names or anything like that. Okay, my paternal grandmother's name was Mary. She had a twin brother named Bill. She got married when she was 16 years old. Yikes, that's young. I do not remember much about her. My paternal grandfather's name was Ami. Okay. He was of French descent. Yeah. I remember he had white hair. He would wash up at the washstand with homemade soap that Grandma made that was cut into bars. It was a yellowish color and smelled clean. I think they used this same soap to wash clothes. I remember when we would all get together at their home, and we would have crackers and cheese, which was a great treat for us, and sit on the floor if there weren't enough chairs to go around. The men would drink beer out of bottles, and we all had a good time. There was laughing and joking. My aunts and uncles on my father's side of the family were Anne, Francis, my dad, Theodore, Virginia, Margaret, Philip, Catherine, Angeline, Mary Louise, and Ramona. One of the babies died at birth. I regret that I do not have any pictures of them to include in the story of my life. One time, Margaret's sister, Virginia, had some matches that they took up to the haymow. I don't know what a haymow is. Maybe it's like a barn or something. Virginia was quite young at this time. She lit the matches, and the hay caught on fire. The barn and the hay burned very quickly. By the time they were able to summon help, it was too late. Margaret was burned to death in this fire. Oh my God. My grandmother was never the same after that. She never really got over it. I mean, no. Okay, on my mom's side, my aunts and uncles were Genevieve, Raymond, my mother Lillian, Sarah, Barney, and Sue. They were of German descent. My maternal grandfather was named Theodore. I never knew my grandmother Susan because she died when Mom was only 9 years old. This would have been in 1913. I think that Grandma died at the time that Sue was born. That would have been hard. Ugh. Okay, I do have a copy of their wedding photo. It says our mother's parents on their wedding day. So this would be her grandparents. So these would be my great grandparents. I've got some names blocked off. Cool. Okay, Mom had to take on a lot of chores at an early age. I mean, 9 years old and your mom dies. Yikes. Plus there's a new baby. Ooh, hard. Okay, Grandma and Grandpa moved when Mom was about 7 years old, I believe. I guess the reason they moved was because they didn't want their children to be raised in the city. Mom always mentioned that her grandfather owned half of the town, but I think that during the stock market crash he lost everything. While Mom's family was still living in the town, I don't know, the oldest girl, Genevieve, fell on concrete and hit her head. She was unconscious for a couple of days and had seizures. I guess she was placed in a home after that. I had scarcely heard of my Aunt Genevieve until my sister Gail told me a few things about her. People were so secretive about things like that in those days. Somehow, it came to her attention that Genevieve was living in the nursing home. Mom never mentioned her, but I believe she went to visit her sometimes. I think someone had let my sister Gail know that about Aunt Genevieve's death, and she went to the funeral. She said that Aunt Genevieve looked like a rose in the coffin. I wish I had known her. What a loss. The grandmothers and grandfathers are all long gone now. Mine too. I have my grandfather's little wine glass with the lily pattern, and I have my grandmother's glass candlesticks. These are such treasures to me since I don't have any photographs of the grandparents. Uncle Barney married Aunt Virginia. This was on my mother's side of the family. She had been married before and had a daughter, so of course people talked about her. Oh my goodness, the scandal. We loved her. She was so young and fun-loving and was always smiling and happy. She always seemed to be in a good mood. One time, she brought us a lollipop set for Christmas. It was made kind of like an ice cube tray of metal. There were several flavors of lollipops that you could make. She would bring apples and oranges in paper bags for each of us. They used to have bingo parties at her house, and she would provide prizes for everyone. It was so much fun. Bingo parties. Cool. When Mom came down to visit us one time, she brought Virginia along, and we really had a ball. She went with us to Mexico during that visit and bought a big rack of longhorns that they had on display and took it on the plane back to Minnesota with her. Okay, that was the second chapter. Now this one is going to be talking about her birth. The chapter's just called Birth Date. Okay, so it says, I was born on January 14th, on a Thursday in the evening at my parents' home outside of town in the state of Minnesota. It was midwinter, and I am sure there was a lot of snow on the ground, because in those days it seemed like we always had so much snow. My dad went to Theum's, a neighbor who lived a mile or two away, to use the phone to call the doctor. Gosh, can you imagine? Ugh. My water broke. Okay, let me walk 2 miles to this guy's house to call the doctor and then have the doctor come out. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, our regular doctor, Dr. Holdridge, was on a call. So my dad had to call Dr. Donaldson, who came to my parents' home and delivered me. Dr. Holdridge charged $20 for a home delivery, and Dr. Donaldson charged $25. There were no complications that I know of. My sister Marilyn said that when the doctor left, she went and jumped on my mother's stomach. I bet that felt good to my mom. I was baptized a week or so later, and my godparents were Anne and Barney, my aunt on my father's side and my uncle on my mother's side. Uncle Barney brought me a stuffed dog. The bigger girls loved it and wore it out, I believe. We did not have many toys in those days. I have 2 sisters, Marilyn, who is now 76, and Rosamond, who is 74. Then I came along, and I'm sure that my mother and dad thought they would never have a boy, so they named me Theodora, after my father, and everyone has always called me Teddy, except for my teachers in school, who always called me Theodora. I have a sister, Gail, who is now 69 years old, and a brother, Roger, who is 67 years old. This makes me the dreaded middle child, but more about that later. My astrological sign is Capricorn, and it is represented by the goat. The goat is stubborn and always wants to reach the top and never gives up. And I think that describes me somewhat. I am so competitive. So that is the last bit of that chapter. The next chapter we will be talking about is our house. So I guess this is her childhood home. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.